Hey everybody, it's me, Tracy Thomas, host of The Stacks, and I am here today with another bonus episode of The Stacks. We call it The Stacks Unabridged. And today I am really excited to share with you my conversation from the Mississippi Book Festival with Hanif Abdurraqib and Jason Reynolds. The panel is titled A Conversation Between Friends, and that's just what you're going to hear, talking about each other's work, music criticism, and a very important question about the greatest band of all time. If you're listening to this episode and it cuts out about 10 to 15 minutes in, that means you are not a paid member of the Stacks Pack or my Substack Unstacked. You got to join over there to get access to this full episode, not to mention a bunch of other perks like hot takes in my newsletter, access to the Mega Reading Challenge and our virtual book club. Plus, you get to know that by joining the Stacks Pack and subscribing to the newsletter, you make this podcast possible. So head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack and check out my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Okay, that's enough of that. It is now time for my conversation with Jason Reynolds and Hanif Abdurraqib at this year's Mississippi Book Festival. Thank you. And thank you guys for clapping for all of my three things. I love you. So I get to introduce these two lovely humans. And because I am mortified by all introductions, I'm going to just give you a very casual intro. So this is Jason Reynolds. You already know him. He is a beloved by me and everyone in this room, apparently, author. He writes books for young people. If you're not familiar with him yet, your children certainly are. His most recent book is 24 Seconds From Now. It came out, and he's got a forthcoming book called Coach coming in October, which is the 5th book in the track series. So Ghost, Blue, Patina, that's out of order, and Sunny. Now Coach, it's purple. So that's Jason. He's also the poet laureate or the young people's laureate. You used to be. It's a big deal. So that's Jason. And then next to Jason is Hanif Abdurraqib. This is a conversation between friends, and since Kiese couldn't be here, Jason and I said, well, let's ask our other friend, Hanif. We cornered him in the hotel lobby and said, do you want to be our friend? And Hanif is a author as well. His most recent book is There's Always This Year. He's also a poet. You might know him from his book, A Little Devil in America. He does everything. And that's Hanif. And he's from Columbus, Ohio. And he has a forthcoming book of poems next year. Okay, I want to start with the books. We're going to talk a little bit about books. Then we're just going to talk because our prompt was a conversation between friends. And usually we don't talk about the books because we're friends. But we're going to do a little book, then we're going to do the friend stuff. And here's where I want to start. Both of you have your next books are sort of going back to previous stuff you did. You published poems early in your career. You published this track series years ago. You've both decided to go back. A, why? And B, what is it like revisiting things that you used to do after having sort of gotten to be Hanif and Jason?
I don't think I ever was. I never wanted to do this. It's weird. Like I wrote the track series so long ago. Coach, I think, came out in 16. Ghost came out in 16, I think. And people have been asking, right? The books came out, they did what they did, and people were like, all the kids want Coach, or teachers want Coach, or parents want Coach. And I kept trying to explain to people that if I write Coach's story, then all the characters that you come to love won't exist because they weren't alive when Coach was a kid, right? And because of the category in which I write, typically I would have to age Coach down. I would have to bring Coach back to like 13, 14 years old in order for this to work. And then life happens, right? And you're like, man, it's kind of itching at me. I can feel sort of the story germinating, and I'm like, all right, well, what would it be like to sort of explore 1988, right? What would it be like to try to bring young people? Because it's tricky to do this with kids, because sometimes this goes well, and sometimes they're like, we don't care about what happened in the past. We want everything. I'm like, either I want things way in the future, or I want things right now. And it can be tricky to sort of navigate the past and figure out what pop culture references to use, what won't they care about, right? So luckily, 88, I can talk about Jordan, right? I can talk about Back to the Future, right? I can talk about Carl Lewis, right? These are sort of the touch points that I can talk about the crack epidemic in a way that sort of helps us understand who these kids are that they know, right? And what has happened to their parents and their communities and so forth and so on. You start to sort of seed those things. And so I hope it works. I like it, which at some point is all that matters, right? But it really was a struggle for me to make that decision because I haven't done anything like it. And, it's like, all right. And is it too far gone? The series has been out for a long time. Yeah. And to add a fifth book 5 years after the last one seems like, but whatever, here we are.
I'll read it.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
We're all going to read it, probably. What about you, Hanif?
Well, first off, sorry, I'm not as disappointed as you are that I am not KSA. I share in your disappointment that I'm not KSA. Also, this is the anniversary of the churches being laid. Didn't I say September 11th?
September 14th.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
1882?
Can you do that math?
Look at that.
I can do the math of who built the church.
Yeah.
You're going to have all these sweet Southern folk.
Yeah.
Cussing these people church. You just say,
I don't think I ever stopped writing poems. I think, I don't mean that as a braided thought. That was a separate thought from the...
I got it.
My first... That was one of those things where, the black people responded in one wave of things, and everyone else in the room was like, oh, wait. My first two books of poems, my last book of poems came out in 2019, Fortune for Your Disaster, but since then, I don't believe I've ever stopped writing poems. There's always, this year, it's kind of like a book-length poem.
Yeah.
If I think about the way that I was drawn to poems and what excites me about poems, the poem is putting a filter of beautiful language over what some would consider the mundane. And so that's kind of always been the project of the work. There's always this year has a poetic form built, literally there's a ghazal at the end, and there's a sonnet, there's sonnets in the middle, and there's, A Little Devil in America has poems in it. And so I think the work of taking to a book, like a book of poems, is different for me and challenging, but fun. Fortune for Your Disaster was a hard book to write. It really messed me up. It really messed with my head for a long time. And so much of my avoidance of the poem, making a book of poems, was I know what it's like to make the kind of book of poems I want to make, and I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can actually emotionally do it. And in this book, actually, is significantly more challenging than a Fortune for Your Disaster. Fortune for Your Disaster is run-of-the-mill breakup book. It's like Stag's Leap. It's your run-of-the-mill divorce book. Maybe not run-of-the-mill. I don't think it's run-of-the-mill, because most divorce books by men are kind of, they're kind of punishing. That's a more critical way of saying what in Fortune for Disaster, I was trying to be a little bit more introspective. But the book I'm writing now, I'm always looking up at You're Jumping, is so much of a book about the bewilderment of my own survival. Where it's I'm looking back on all the people who I've buried before I turned 25 and kind of looking at my own self in the mirror, how are you still here? And that's a much harder book to reckon with, but I'm having an incredible time. It's going to be very bizarre when the poems begin to trickle into the world, because I think people are going to be these are so sad. But I'm having the time of my life. Really, I'm having the most fun I've ever had writing poems. And I actually think that is indicative of where my heart is now and how willing I am to be in this sense of overwhelming bewilderment and say, it's weird that I'm still here, but isn't it kind of great?
Yeah. Do you guys have favorites of your own things? And do you ever tell people what your favorite thing is?
Favorite books?
Yeah, sure. Favorite work that you've done. Yeah, do you have a favorite book? You've written enough, and you've written a lot, even more than enough.
Yeah.
Don't stop. But do you have a favorite? I know people always come up to you and they're like, A Long Way Down, or there's always this here. That's my favorite. But
A Long Way Down is my favorite Jason book.
Definitely not mine, though.
Not yours?
No.
That's the way it is, though, isn't it?
That's why I'm wondering. That's why I want to know what your favorite is.
Yeah, my favorite is easy. There are two that I love more than all the other ones, and that's book 2 and book 3, which is Boy in the Black Suit and As Brave as You. And they're the ones that the critics call quiet novels. They've done the least amount of selling and make the least amount of noise, and I think they're the best written and the most special to me than all those books.
Yeah, I think the book of mine that people seem to love the most is maybe my least favorite of mine, which is
my favorite is The Last Joint.
I know that's his favorite. My favorite is All
To
Little
me,
Devil
that's a
in America.
masterpiece.
Yeah,
There's always this shit.
I think my favorite is There's Always This Year, it's only because I think I didn't know how to write it until I wrote it. I think to see that book come to life and to really fight with it. That book was initially, I said this when we did our talk, that book was initially flipped. It was initially the clock, everything worked backwards. And I'll never forget, I feel like I have the best editor in the world, Maya Millette, I love Maya Millette's editing so much that when Maya edited A Little Devil in America freelance, she was just like a freelance editor I found. I was like, I would like to have a black woman editor work on this book. I just found Maya. And the way we worked together was so brilliant that when Random House was like, we would love to bring you back for 2 more books, I was kind of like, you're going to have to hire, you're going to have to put this woman on payroll. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I don't know, And so it was great to take There's Always This Year to Maya in this way where it began, in this reverse way and the countdown clock was happening. And she said this thing to me that I'll never forget was like, you wrote a very hard book. I can't believe that you pulled this off. Let's make it good. You know what I mean? There's a difference between writing a challenging book and writing a good book, and I didn't know that before. And There's Always This Year was really fun to say, I felt so proud of myself when I wrote the hardest book I could write, and then I read it and I was like, but this is for no one but me. And I would love to craft this book in a way that makes it for everyone. And the bridge between the book for me and the book for everyone was a really fun one to cross. Yeah. I do love Go Ahead in the Rain, though. I really love that book, too. That book means a lot to me because that was the first long-form nonfiction project I wrote that wasn't just a bunch of essays, and that was cool.
Why is There's Always This Year your favorite of his? All right, that is the end of this bonus teaser. If you were liking what you were hearing, you can listen to the entire episode by going to either patreon.com/The Stacks and joining the Stacks Pack, getting access to the Discord, being able to participate in our virtual book club, or you can go to tracythomas.substack.com and subscribe to Unstacked, where you're going to get my writing about books, pop culture. You're going to get other exclusive author interviews, and of course, these bonus episodes. So go to one of those 2 places, join us, get to hear the rest of this episode, and support the work that I do by being a part of these wonderful communities. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the Stacks.